Well, welcome everyone to Mastering Your Money with Financial Coaching. I'm Bjorn Larson. In 2016, I was sitting in an office chair about to do my first ever coaching appointment. And I still remember sitting there staring at my computer screen, looking at a list of all these notes that I had, things that I had to say, things that I shouldn't say, things like a checklist of all these items. And I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit overwhelming. I had been trained as a financial coach. I had worked with hundreds of people already on their personal finances. So I knew kind of what to do, but I'd never really done anything over the phone like that. I had never really had those feelings before of nervousness working with people. And what I realized was that I had just all these thoughts and all these checklist things and all these procedures that were kind of getting in the way of what financial coaching really is about. And I remember talking with another seasoned financial coach about how to approach this. And I'll always remember she said, Bjorn, it's just a conversation. Just remember, it's just a conversation. And that was so helpful to me because I remembered that on the other side of that line is an actual human, and I'm just having a conversation. I can do that. I can talk with them about their financial life. And it was so impactful. I actually wrote that quote down on a Post-it note and put it on my computer so that I remembered every time I had a conversation with someone that it is just a conversation, right? I don't have to be an expert. I don't have to follow all the procedures. They didn't know what I was going to say. And so it was very helpful as a coach to approach all of those future opportunities like that. And so today we're just going to have a conversation. We are going to talk about what financial coaching is, what financial coaching isn't, and why you should consider using a financial coach to master your money. And I am joined by a couple of great friends here that are part of our coaching program, Tamsin and Caitlin. So welcome, you guys. So excited to do this with you. Just to introduce myself real quickly, I am Bjorn Larson, the Executive Director of the Life Money U Financial Wellbeing Program. I am a certified coach. I've been doing it since 2016 officially, and unofficially probably for over a decade working with people. And I just love getting to see people fulfill their financial dreams. I think that's the most rewarding part of being a coach. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Tamsin, how about you get us started?
Hi, Bjorn, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here. So I'm Tamsin Gillick. I've been with the credit union for 4 years now. Actually started in March of 2020, which was an interesting time to get started with the organization. And I've actually been a financial coach since that time too. And I just love it. I love working with people. I love being able to talk with them about their dreams and their hopes, what they want to accomplish. And that's such a big part of what it is to do as a financial coach. And yes, I'm now located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and serve our members here, as well as across the United States. And I love it.
That's awesome. Caitlin, how about you?
Yeah, my name's Caitlin Stafford. I have worked in the financial industry for the last 13 years, and I started as a financial coach in 2018. And so I had previously worked at a larger financial institution. And so I was already kind of doing the financial coaching. I remember working with an 80-year-old woman who had just lost her husband, and he was a financial trust advisor. So he did all the budgeting. This lady didn't even know how to write out a check or do any of her budgeting. And so I was kind of helping her with her finances and teaching her how to write a check and how to budget. And I kind of got reprimanded at the larger financial institution that I was working at. And they're like, that's not really part of our job. And so when I came over to BCU and they told us about this Life Money U financial education program and how that is our mission and purpose to help people succeed financially, I knew that that was like the best fit for me because we have the space and the resources and the time to help people when they really need the help. So I'm super excited to be here today. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited to share my passion about financial coaching and how it truly changes people's lives. So thank you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both so much. And so, what we're going to do today is we're going to spend about, let's see, 25 more minutes or so talking a little bit about what financial coaching is, what it isn't, just kind of who should use a coach. And then We're actually going to have time to take some questions from the audience. So be thinking of the question that you want to ask. You can just type it in the chat on the live stream, and we'll get to those at the end. We're all part of this Life Money U program where we do coaching on a regular basis and help people. And so maybe just to kick things off, Tamsin, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what a financial coach does?
Oh goodness, it's such a beautiful opportunity. One thing I love as a financial coach, it's an opportunity for people to come in and really make sure that they're maximizing um, everything with their finances and that they're on track to be able to reach their goals that they have, whether that be moving towards buying a house, whether that be, making sure that their savings are in a good place, getting out of debt. That's a common thing to be able to tackle. But I love that we just get to open up the conversation to see what the person is wanting to accomplish and help them on that journey.
Totally. Caitlin, how about you? Anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that I help people with is fixing and repairing their credit. And what's hard for me is I like to jump right in and do it for them or tell them what to do. But really, as a financial coach, you want to empower them to make their own financial decisions and really teach them. And so I really love like building the relationship and the rapport with the people that I'm working with, because it really does become a two-way relationship. And once you have that rapport, you get so much more information from the people that you're trying to help. And so you're able to help them on a next level basis. And so, yeah, whether it be looking at their credit report, helping them with a budget, getting them ready to buy their dream house or their first house, those are all the things that I help people with every day.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's so tempting as coaches, and I'll just share a kind of a personal. I'm going to admit something personal here that I like to help people, and at times I like to be the hero. I like to be the financial hero. I've fallen into that trap before, where I'm sitting with someone and I hear all the problems that are going on, and I'm instantly trying to problem solve. I'm thinking about, oh, if you just did this, and if you just did this, oh my gosh, your whole life would change. And I think all to some level enjoy helping people and the satisfaction we get, out of doing that. But I think the best financial coaches are the ones that have expertise, but then they know when to table that, if you will, and not expert on the person. I say that all the time. Don't expert on the person. You need to start to understand what's important to them and what's their history with money and how is it affecting their relationships in their life and where do they hope to get to someday. Let them dream a little bit, and then your job is to kind of help reflect back to them what you're hearing. So if they say that they want to be here and they're way over here, maybe you need to kind of help tighten that up a little bit. And so you just need to ask some good questions to sort of tease out what is best. And that's so hard for those of us that have the quick fix, because we think that is going to be the best fix for everybody. But we have to remember that people come from all different backgrounds. What seems like a small step for us three on the call could seem like a massive step for somebody else. And so you just have to tee it up and find a way forward in kind of their terms, their terminology. And it could be that it's totally different than what would be the best answer out of the top 10 on next steps forward. But if it progresses them towards those goals, that's huge. So let's continue down this path a little bit. There really are, I think, some different types of hats that we have to wear as coaches, and honestly, some areas where we might kind of get close to the line of what a coach does and doesn't do. And so there are kind of like five main types of advice out there. There's education, which you can get through articles and videos and that kind of thing, but oftentimes a coach or a counselor or an advisor will do some form of education. There's counseling, which is a little bit more like directive, where somebody comes with a problem, you assess the problem, you tell them what to do next. And they're kind of people are more maybe in a desperate situation. Then there's coaching, which is maybe a little bit more like a personal trainer, where somebody's coming and you're not necessarily going to tell them all the answers, but you're going to kind of help them find their own answers. there's therapy, which is kind of a new field or a newer field, financial therapy, where, and you guys have, you're probably smiling because you probably have had to play a therapist at times in people's lives. And then there's financial advising. That's the one that most people know. And so, I guess, Caitlin, could you just help us kind of understand, like, how about as a coach, like, which of those five do you often have to wear, I guess, hat wise? And then which ones do you have to kind of be careful to not go too far into?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of find that you're wearing all five hats. The one that so financial coaching is really truly like that cheerleader. Like you're there to help them and guide them, but you're not doing it for them. Where financial advising is like, I think of as investing, right? And so I'm not licensed to give investment advice. So that's the one that I do kind of shy away from because I want the expert to give you that advice that you truly are entitled to. And so I just stay away from the financial advisor. My husband and I personally work with a financial advisor because we want to work with the expert there. Educating every financial coaching session, I'm educating them, right? What makes up different areas of your credit score? What percentage of should you be saving of your paycheck? In therapy, I'm not a trained therapist by any means, but when we have this great relationship, there are raw things that come out. Maybe I'm working with a couple or just a single person, and they tell me very vulnerable things, and you have to be, you want to be there as a support system for them. So the therapy hat comes on for sure. But another one that I try and shy a little bit away because I'm not a trained therapist either, but I am here to be a listening ear, and I really truly care about my members and people that I'm coaching, that I want to further them and give them all the resources that they can. And then I feel like financial counseling and coaching are very similar in the regards of how everyone has their own different process that they use or style, but I feel like those blend the most together for sure.
Totally. Tamsin, how about you? What kind of hats have you had to wear as a financial coach?
Definitely agreeing with Caitlin in the different things. There is always an education piece. Working in finance, where I mean, Caitlin, you've been doing it for 13 years. I've been for 4 years. Sometimes you forget all the things that you come into contact with every single day. So there is a lot of education pieces that we can bring to the meetings that we have. And I agree. Just with therapy, we do want to be there to be a listening ear, because if there's pieces of debt that people have gotten into, if there's things about savings that they want to work towards, there's a story there. There's been a journey for that person. And so really seeing where they're at in life and what they're wanting to go towards in life is in a way part of it. You do want to make sure to be very specific in holding, those boundaries of not doing what a licensed therapist would do. But that is still so much a part of it, to be able to hear about, what's behind wanting to go after these things, or what's behind how they got to where they're at now. So there is definitely a juggling there, and I think that is such a big important part, to be able to be listening with that. And that could go into the therapy, that could go into the counseling aspect, but to be able to reflect back what they're wanting, just like you were saying, Bjorn, what they're wanting and what they're wanting to get to, and being a mirror back of how that journey can happen.
Yeah, I think so often people don't talk about their finances with anyone. And so
Right.
even I mean, literally I've had people say to me, this is the first time I've ever telling anyone this information. You're the only person I've ever talked to about this. That was so incredibly helpful to have somebody listen and reflect back to me what I'm saying, because we all talk a lot, but we don't often listen very well, and we don't often have someone that's just paid in some ways. I mean, we don't charge for our coaching program, but like we are working. So we're here to actively listen. We are here to do what is going to help you the best, and That's what a good coach does. A good coach is there actively listening, like you said, Tamsin, reflecting back to you what you said. And sometimes hearing it back, you start to realize, oh my goodness, that doesn't make sense, does it? I say that I want to pay my kids way all the way through college, but I am continuing to spend more than I make every month. So you're right. That how do I reconcile those things? And so then as the coach, your job is to really give hope and give support and no judgment either. I think that's the other piece that most people, it's a really big barrier because we just think, I mean, A, we don't want to talk about it. We don't know the person. We're going to be judged. I have to have it all together. But these are all false things. We do not need to have it all together. You do not need to have it all together. If you're thinking about working with a coach, you need to just come. You need to come to the conversation and you need to just be honest. And I would just congratulate anyone that takes that step because most Americans never take that step. Most Americans actually never do that. And if you're working with a great coach, they're going to be someone that truly wants what's best for you. And they may not have all the magic answers to solve your problem right away, but they're going to be someone that's going to be in your corner. I'll always remember this woman came into this conference room where I was doing some coaching appointments. I was down in Arkansas and we were doing back to back to back appointments. So I had this like list of, things I was going to ask. And I kind of had a well-oiled machine going at the time. And I've never met her before. She comes in, she introduces herself and she just starts crying. And in that moment, if you are any good of a coach, you need to realize that your agenda does not matter anymore. It does not matter what you plan to do. You just maybe literally, I didn't do this, but I mean, you maybe literally need to put your arm around the person or just like move closer to them to remind them that you are there for them. And I just remember that vividly because it was like, wow, like I've never met you and it must be so bad that you're just like in tears. You're at your last hope, desperation situation. And it was how I reacted in that moment as a coach was extremely important for the future of us working together. And so we built trust. I listened decently well, and we just created a really easy next step for her to take. And that led to a whole year working together and me working through a lot of difficult things, but truly working. I mean, she did all the hard work to change her life, but we were able to like amazingly change the situation that she was in. And so that gets at like the therapist and the counselor and the educator and learning, I think, through experience, how to tap those different things at the right time is super important. So thank you guys so much for adding to that. Now, the topic of today is really who should work with a financial coach and what are the benefits of working with a financial coach. So Tamsin, why don't you just tell us, like who's the best candidate to work with a coach and what can somebody expect to get out of a coaching relationship?
Definitely. Honestly, there's many different situations where that would apply to. I would say one of the ones I will definitely bring up is debt. Lots of the people that I work with, they're feeling so burdened by debt and they feel like they're the only one. They feel like they're alone. There's just in our culture, we don't really talk about the credit card balances that we have. Obviously, we see, the clothes that our friends and our peers are wearing and the cars that they drive, but we don't see their bank accounts. Right. Me and Caitlin, we see their bank accounts. We know that there are other people that are struggling with these same things of getting out of debt. We're a safe place to be able to go and talk and say like, hey, this actually keeps me up at night. And actually, I love that part of being able to meet with people like that and say, you're not alone. There's your peers around you. You don't know that people right next to you are struggling with this exact same thing. The other thing that I will say is, just even if you just want to make sure that you're on track for what you're wanting to do, there's definitely several different education pieces that you're like, hey, I have my debt where I want it to be, I have my savings where I want it to be, checking in with someone. and just saying like, hey, this is my setup that I have. I feel confident about it. We have access to different resources that you might not know about. I mean, you might feel like, hey, I got everything sorted the way that I want. There could be some more resources out there. There could be different ways of approaching it that can open up different doors that you might know about, that we have the experience and the exposure to. And we can have that type of conversation to go deeper into, hey, are we really maximizing things the way that is going to make you reach your goals in the timeline that you want, in the way that you want? So, and everything in between those things.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. And I think you're right on. It really varies on how people can use a coach, but sometimes just meeting with someone and getting a little bit of help can, like you said, uncover a lot of rocks that you never knew even existed. And that can be very insightful, very eye opening. So, really great. Caitlin, how about you? Tell us about,
Yeah.
what you see.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a gentleman and his wife that I was working with, and he called like maybe a year later and like just left me like the sweetest voicemail. And he's like, Caitlin, I just want to thank you for being the first banker to ever treat me like a decent human being. And that just like broke my heart. And I was like, I was so thankful that he called and told me that, but I was also that it broke my heart that people aren't treated without judgment. And I think everything that Tamsin said was spot on, is meeting people where they are. So I feel like everyone could meet with a financial coach, regardless of if you're covered in debt and you just need someone to be a cheerleader to help you get out, or if you are at the top and you are looking to retire, maybe we can maximize how much you're making. And I've never met someone that I'm like, oh, I can't help you, So I think anyone and everyone could call, and we're able to, sit with them and see how we can really help them in their financial journey.
Yeah, I think it's kind of I have used this example before as I've talked with different people, but it's a little bit like marriage counseling in a way where you kind of feel like if you use it, you're admitting that you have a problem, that your marriage has a problem or your relationship has a problem, whatever. But I have so many people in my life that have gone to marriage counseling not because they have a problem, but because they heard it was so helpful for just communication and shared goals and all those kinds of things, which are an important part of any good relationship. And in the same way, people who try financial coaching oftentimes like it. I've had so many folks who kind of just checked it out because it was offered and they didn't really even know what it was. And I think that's changed now, thankfully, since 2016. But they'd come with their investment statements, or they would come in and they would be like, all right, I think we're supposed to talk about retirement or something. And we realized that it's so much more than that. It's really having a person who listens well, who can grab onto their expertise and utilize it if they need to. But it so often gets into I've found in some of the basic types of topics. And so I just wanted to ask you guys both, and Caitlin, maybe you could get us started on like, what are the most common topics that people will come to you for that you can really help with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say credit for sure. If they're not feeling confident where their credit score is, that's something that we can help. And usually that kind of goes in hand with, maybe creating a budget and looking at any debt that they might have. I was working with a friend who is one of my members, but we're really close friends as well. And this member had been getting repeated overdrafts, like $29 fees. And I think in one year she paid over $1,400 in just overdraft fees. And so her credit score was maybe at a 500. And so all we had to tweak was the timing and when and how she paid her bills. And she went from a 500 credit score to 700. And she didn't go out and get a second job. And we didn't do anything crazy. And she never got another overdraft fee. It was just, kind of suggesting maybe a different way that she pay her bills. And so things like that, or we do get the investing questions, or how can I maximize how much money I'm making? A lot of first-time home buyers, which is a passion of mine, is getting them ready so that they can buy their first house. So those are some of the the top, I would say, appointments that I take. But I see things all over the board for sure.
Yeah, Tamsin, anything that you'd like to add to that?
I think that covers a lot of the different things. I mean, and then if anybody's looking to do something more specific, we can dive into that too. But everything that Caitlin talked about is some of the great conversations that we can dive into: the power of budgeting, the power of making sure that your credit score is at the top that it can be, so that even if you're not planning like, oh, I want to buy a house right now, that you're set up down the line to be ready for any goals that you could be having coming up in the future.
Yeah. And I
Yeah, I
also,
would
I met a
echo.
guy, go ahead, Bjorn.
Yeah, no,
I met a
Caitlin,
guy that
please
was
jump on
paying
in.
I met a guy that was paying $100 a month to a law firm, and he had been working with them for over a year. And so we were able to work together for 2 months, and all he wanted to do was get his credit score over the 650 mark so that he felt like he was ready to buy a house. And so we do that for free. And so we are able to save him $100 a month that he can put in his savings now. So little things like that. Really make it impactful on people's lives for sure.
Yeah, it's so fun when we can save people money. I mean, whether it's through credit or maybe through debt consolidation or even just like literally save money into a savings account or look at somebody's budget and go, hey, sort of you said this is important to you, but then you're spending over here. Help me understand that. Is that where you want your money to be going? Or, hey, did you realize that you're actually double paying for this? And they're like, oh, no, I had no idea. So I have found that almost all the time it comes down to some of those more basic topics for everybody because, in some ways we could all save more. And so I think everybody could somewhat agree with that. And so I think that's a key role that we play as coaches. But I find that even when people come in for a really specific thing, which we can help with in the moment, it like if they want to focus on retirement, oftentimes for me, if I ask people, okay, well, any idea like how much you're going to need for retirement? Well, most people don't know that. And then I'm like, okay, well, how much do you think you'll spend when you're in retirement? Most people don't know that either. So then it's like, well, how about today? Do you know how much you spend today? And again, most people don't do that or track that. So it kind of quickly moves backwards or more to the immediate types of things because, well, personal finance isn't very complicated overall. I mean, it is somewhat complicated for sure, no doubt about it. But like, saving money, spending less than you make, like some of those conceptual things are relatively easy. We all know, I mean, personally, how hard it is to do it. Like our behaviors, just the kind of the temptations all over the world to spend more money on things are all there. So I think that's where a coach is super helpful because they're going to be an accountability partner too. They're going to check in with you and say and ask you like, okay, how did it go last month? And the great thing is that they're not going to be like a drill sergeant who condemns you for screwing up in the last month. They're going to say, okay, that's probably not exactly what you had hoped for, but all right, what can we do better this next time? What, maybe that was too big of a step. So let's break it down even further. Like maybe you need to, spend $5 less this week and not, $50 less this month. Let's just break it down into bite-sized chunks. So coaching is very versatile. It can cover lots of different kinds of topics. And like we've talked about, it so often moves away from the finances and kind of over to kind of the personal life goals and events that we all are trying to do. Maybe as just kind of our last thing, what should somebody do if they want to connect with a coach? What's a good next step? Tamsin, do you want to share that?
Of just how to get connected with a financial coach. Just well, Life Money You. Obviously, we offer that here, and it's great that you can just set up an appointment and show up. I mean, we can even help you discover what your goals are together if you don't have those in mind. Um, yeah, and with that, you can just start the conversation, see what that journey could look like for you.
Caitlin, any other places that somebody can go for financial help?
Yeah, of course. So I think the Life Money U site and subscription it's free, so it's a nice starting point. You can get Tamsin and my Bjorn's contact information if you need to, but I think, any resource that you can get that is going to be free, you're not paying a lot of money for it, is well worth your time for sure. So reach out. We're more than happy to help, meet you where you are and kind of figure out what your goals are and how we're going to get you there.
Awesome. And I would just add to that, if you have, if you're wanting to work with someone where you're kind of paying them to do your finances for you, that's more of a financial advisor. And there are lots of great options. I would just recommend that you look for the CFP designation so that you know that that person is putting your best interests first. And there are lots of ways you can research that. I would also talk with your family and friends, and see who do you see in your life that has modeled this well and has done a really good job with their finances. Make sure that you talk to them. Of course, we have coaches here, but you probably even have options at your employer too, to reach out and consult with somebody. So really the important thing is that somebody is paying attention to your finances. And if you're not inclined to do that, or you're not quite sure where to start, that's when it's great to work with a coach or a counselor or somebody like that. And then if you are in a position where you can pay for some of that, that's where maybe a financial advisor starts to make more sense. So we hope that all this has been helpful, both for those that are doing coaching themselves and those that are maybe considering working with a coach. And if you want to check out the Life Money U program, you can go to lifemoneyu.com and subscribe for free. It truly is free. I know it's hard to believe, but it is free. And then the way that we pay for this program is we have some people joining the credit union because they become eligible for membership when they join Life Money U. So that's the hope. And if you want to save money and get great rates and all that kind of thing, we would love to have you join the credit union as well. All right, so we have had a lot of questions come in here, and we are going to hop over now to doing that. So I'll kind of just drive some of those questions here and ask you guys to weigh in on some of these. So the first question that we had was, and this is a very common one. Somebody out there has a HELOC that has a $25,000 balance on it at 8%, and they're also trying to figure out how much they should be saving for retirement and whether or not they should be shifting more toward maximizing their 401k or not. They're 57 years old, so I'm getting closer to retirement. Caitlin, anything you would have to add on this one?
Yeah, I think for that one is I would want to know how much they also had in retirement, and then if payment is most important, is getting the best rate on your HELOC the thing that's most important to you, or is having an affordable monthly payment the thing that's most important to you? And that's going to be different for anyone that asks that question, right? So there are ways that you could maybe switch that over to a 0%, maybe like a balance transfer, aggressively pay that down so that you can then go and put more money in your 401k. Or you could, continue to make your payments, but also, hope that your 401k is growing at least 10%, where it might make more sense to put some money there. So I would need to know a little bit more information, and I don't want to expert on the person either. So I also might want them to meet with their financial advisor, or especially if you're getting to the 57 mark, you're closer to retirement. So we want you to have someone that is set up to help you with your retirement. So I would probably go there as well.
Tamsin, anything to add at all?
No, well said, Caitlin. Those are that. I definitely agree. There's definitely a big part of it is looking at the full picture. What are some of the other, things happening in your life and other amounts of debt that you have and the amount that you have in savings for retirement. So definitely echo what Caitlin said there. And that's what I love. When in our sessions, we can go in and take time to look at the full picture and other spinning plates that you have.
Yeah, very, very helpful. Another question that we got, I can take a shot at this one, is do you need to know a lot about finances to get coaching? I would say definitely not. I think that's actually where a coach is probably most helpful is, again, they can do some sort of education, but a good coach is going to ask you a lot of questions about yourself and like how you feel about money. So like I always love to ask people, tell me about how you grew up with money. Did your parents handle it well? Did they talk about it? Did you ever see it happening? What did you like and not like about that? And then I think also the here and now, like in your own, the participant that's working with me in your own life and relationships, like how do you do money? Like, do you keep track of it all? Does somebody else do that? Does nobody do that? Does it create conflict? And it oftentimes doesn't actually go deeply into finances. It's more about all the things that money influences in your life, or kind of vice versa, because money is oftentimes more like a symptom of maybe some greater things going on in our lives, good and bad. And so I think getting to the core of what we think about money, our values, like what's important, even just like dreaming. I think it's fun to dream with a coach. Like, if you could just like wave a magic wand, that's why I like asking people. If you could wave a magic wand and anything is possible, what would you like to have your life be like in 10 years? Like what would you really like to see? And that's fun. Like I have 4 young daughters. So it's like 10 years. Wow. Like, holy smokes. I'm gonna have a couple kids in college. Better start saving now. And, all the different things that kind of come with that. And you're sort of just trying to put yourself in your future self, which is a good way to approach that. Hey guys, another question that came in was somebody was just wanting to know a little bit more about saving into a Roth IRA. Anybody like Tamsin? Anything you want to add to that?
Roth IRA. So as you mentioned, we don't get as much into investments, but we can definitely talk about some of the basics with that. One thing I love about the Roth IRA is that it goes in and it's your already taxed funds that go in. And so later on down the line, after it's grown, then when you actually take out, you're not paying taxes on that. So as far as retirement, that is such a great way to get in. The amount that you save on taxes is great. I believe that this year we just up to 7,000 in the 7,000 per year, depending on age. I know age can go into that, but as kind of a general amount that each American can put in towards the Roth IRA. So it's a great option.
Caitlin, anything at all?
Yeah, Tamsin said it better than I would, but I work with, like I said, a financial advisor, and he kind of ran the numbers for my husband and I. Like, if we're putting in traditional, it's nice now to get that tax relief, but we don't know what taxes are going to be like, and if I'm hoping I'm rolling in the money when I'm retired, right? So I want to save as much on taxes, right? So I think that, yeah, what Tamsin said is 100%. So yes, I would encourage people to save in a Roth IRA.
I think the other thing too is it's really great for like a younger person. So even if you have kids, if they're working, if they're earning income, they can actually start a Roth IRA at a young age. And I started saving into a Roth IRA when I was 18 in college, and I barely put any money into it. It felt like a joke, it was like just a couple $100, but just getting into the practice of saving for retirement at a young age doesn't make a big difference right now, but it sure as heck makes a big difference down the road as your money begins to compound and grow over a really long period of time. And the beauty also of Roth money is that as of right now, you don't have to take out like distributions once you reach a certain age. You can hang on to that money for longer and longer. And so that can even be money that you use later in retirement, which means that you could get, 1 or 2 more decades of that money invested. And long-term investing is definitely a good way to go if you're hoping to weather the volatility of the marketplace. So if you want to, talk more about that, we'll give you some contact information at the end here. You can reach out about that. Okay, so we had a couple of questions about just like the first thing that you kind of do to kind of prepare for a coaching appointment. So what do I need to do to prepare for a coaching appointment, and like kind of how do I get started with a coach? These are kind of similar questions. So Caitlin, like where does somebody go to find a coach? I guess we kind of answered that from our program, but are there any other places? And then what is the best way to prepare?
Yeah, I'll start with the prepare. So I always just tell my people, just show up, and the first appointment is really, unless you had something specific that you wanted to talk about, the first appointment is just kind of like we're getting to know each other, and we're figuring out what your goals are, and then we can kind of come up with a plan from there. So it's not overwhelming, like you have to come in with all your statements, because a lot of people are like, I'm coming in with nothing, like I'm just trying to, uphill from here. And then where you can find a financial coach. So like Bjorn said, check with your employer. Maybe they have an EAP, employee research program. You can reach out to one of us through Life Money U, or your local church. I know some people who are financial coaches, they volunteer at their church, or like your local bank where you're currently banking. So there's a lot of different places, but we'd love to help you.
Yeah, we also have a financial wellness app as a part of our program called Money Tracks, and it's out in the iOS and Android stores. It's free to use. You can download that and sign up, and then in that tool, we actually have our coaches in there. Both these guys are in there, and you can see their bio and their schedule, and you can set up time that way. Another great place to go to find a coach is the afcpe.org. I'm sorry, I can't type that for you, but it's the Accredited Financial Counselor, which is the designation that I have. And there are people out there that are doing a coaching that wouldn't be kind of any of the options that we've talked about so far. Tamsin, I got a question for you. Somebody was wondering about. They said basically like they've never been taught about a budget, and they want to get into kind of the reality of what's happening. So where is their money going? How do they improve paying their bills and tithing and preparing for a home? So like, what's a good next step for that person? Obviously, I think we've talked a lot about coaching, but like, is there anything that they can do as they look for a coach in preparation for that?
Definitely. I think going through, especially in this day and age, if you're using a debit card and credit card to make most of your payments to different things, that makes it easy to go back and look at where your money has been going over the last months. It's really great to be able to go look through past statements and see, okay, do I have 2 Hulu subscriptions, or what all am I subscribed to right now? How much am I spending on eating out as opposed to groceries and different things? So taking a second to orient yourself on where your money is going monthly. If you keep receipts, I know I don't. I just look at my credit card statements or debit card statements to look and see where my money is going. And that gives you a picture of where you actually are, so that then you can construct a better picture of where you want to be and what that journey will look like between that. So that's what I would encourage to do. I mean, obviously that's something that we can dive into, but that's something that really gets you ahead on that process of looking and seeing over, especially the last 3 months, what has the last 3 months of my spending looked like. And then also, just a side note that I always encourage, don't forget about yearly expenses that come up. If you pay your car insurance, or just different taxes that can come up, or your registration on your vehicle, don't forget about the yearly expenses that come up.
Caitlin, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think for sure, checking where is your money going? What does your savings balance look like? Evaluating what your goals are, and then through the credit union too, we've got Life Money U, but we also have Savvy Money. Maybe just taking a peek at where your credit score is, printing that off, bringing that with you to the appointment as well, if that's a goal of yours. Would be a great first start. And sometimes you don't even have, you just show up. You don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step, is just showing up, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Well, such helpful advice from you guys today. Thank you so much. That we are at time here, and I would just encourage anyone that's listening that's wondering. I saw a number of other questions about the Roth IRA versus traditional 401k and those kinds of things. Reach out to us. We would love to help you. We will put our email address in the chat on the live stream here. It's lmy@bcu.org, and we'd be glad to connect with you after. We would encourage you to sign up for Life Money U. You'll get access to our content and our coaching. It is completely free, and you become eligible for membership at our credit union, BCU. And so we encourage you to join BCU. There are lots of great products and services. I saw a question about kind of are there incentives? There are some out there, so take a look and see even through your employer what you might be able to get as you join, because we run those promotional things at various times. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope it was encouraging. We hope we demystified financial coaching for you. And Tamsin and Kaylin, thank you so much. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Bjorn.
Thank you.